comforts of what we'll call traditional electricity supply. And then the second aspect is to understand what is off-grid electricity. What really do we mean when we talk about off-grid power? And then the third reason would be for us to make wise, practical, and affordable energy choices. We all make energy choices. I think when we came here, we made certain energy choices in terms of how we traveled to this place. People traveled here perhaps driving their vehicles or being driven by vehicles that were perhaps internal combustion engines. Others came in via e-bikes. Others came in here perhaps cycling on two-wheelers. Others decided to walk. Those are energy choices that we have made this day, or energy decisions. So the intention is not for us to make the decisions. The intention is for us to make wise, practical, and affordable energy decisions. And this will play out in every aspect of our lives. When you enter a room like this one, there are immediate choices you make. Engineers design systems to be people-friendly. So when you walk into the room, the first thing you find on your at the door is a switch. It is also the last thing you find when you exit the room. So you have an energy decision to make when you enter the room and when you exit. And it's a question about conserving the power that you have been using. So you come in, you turn it on, and you go out, you turn it off. Energy decisions in a very limited sense. And then the last one is to support self-reliance, health, and mission. I trust that my person has already been introduced. I would have loved to cover this, but I'll speak about this some other time. It is generally what I do and what we do insofar as energy is concerned. And I have a lot of interest in energy, in all the flavors. The focus technologies I've shown there, whether it is in the area of solar technologies or wind, in hydro technologies, and in energy storage, in other aspects of life that are moving towards making our energy use, energy generation, consumption, and transport of energy, trying to make that entire system, that entire value chain smart. So in the area that is called smart grids and digitalization and so on. These are areas of interest. And so we do a lot of work that covers this. Let me begin by something I found very interesting. On December 19th, 2025, I was out on, that day I think I was out on holiday somewhere. And then Kabarak University, I think, was having their graduation service or ceremony. And the chief guest was the former president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. The chancellor of that university is Mr. Gideon Moi, Honorable Gideon Moi, I should say. So Honorable Gideon Moi made these remarks. As an institution, he says, Kabarak University will transition off-grid, guided by biblical principles. And he says, I will extract from this certain vital things to share with us. This is not an entire endorsement of what he's saying, but he says, as an institution, that is Kabarak University, we will transition off-grid. And he says that the transition off-grid, according to Kabarak University, is guided by biblical principles. By switching off Kenya Power and adopting God's energy through clean, natural solar energy. So the first thing I found remarkable here is, of course, I'm familiar with Kabarak University, and Kabarak is a premier institution in this country, modeled very similarly to the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, and many other institutions of higher learning that are Christ-centered or Bible-centered institutions, or that focus on the whole of man. The interesting thing about this is Kabarak University saying that they are transitioning off-grid, but that their transition is guided by biblical principles. So then, which are these biblical principles that would actually spur or guide someone to transition off-grid? And I submit, those who are listening to me this afternoon, there are solid biblical principles. Other than, of course, preparation for the aspects of the final conflict and the final controversy, where we may not be able to rely on a centralized system of supplying power to people in all corners. There are practical issues at play when it comes to energy dependence. If you are dependent on other parties for your energy and your power supply, then of course you become in many ways, you hang on their coattails. But these biblical principles, in my view, that Kabarak is speaking about, one is stewardship. Stewardship, not just of the environment, but stewardship of God's resources, some of which are abundant and one thing about solar, for example, solar energy, is that it is ubiquitous. It is everywhere present. And everywhere present means that you, unlike other sources of other fuels or other things, this is something that you can harness where you are. And where we exist today in our country, we're in a very good place where we can be able to harness this technology because of its ubiquity. It's ubiquitous in nature. It is everywhere present. Everywhere you go, with the exception, and when I say everywhere, it is in the context of where this meeting is being held, in the sense that you will find solar radiation in good quantities. And then the other thing is about solar energy, is that solar energy is a technology as opposed to a fuel.